and welcome to the USA, where we are here at Portland International Raceway for rounds 13 and 14 of the ABB FIA Formula E World Championship. My name's Alexa Rendell and I'm joined by Saunders CB for our race preview.
Big weekend ahead, lots to get into. Let's see what's coming up in the show.
Yeah, I'm super excited to go back to America. You know, it's obviously a big event for us as an Andretti, local race.
One thing is certainly in Formula E, consistency is what wins you championships and puts you in a position to fight for championships.
You know I jinx whoever I predict. I think it's going to be a Nick Cassidy win this weekend. It is always so good to be back here in the USA, a country that does love its motorsport, but we're bringing an electrifying twist to the situation.
I know, we're doing it again for the 10th year in Formula E. We're always racing in the US. We've had Miami, LA, New York, and now the Northwest, Portland, Oregon. And you say it there, classics. Never has a true word been said, because there's something about racing in America and Formula E. I don't think we've ever had a dull race.
I'd probably agree with that. And there's some big pressure for our teams this weekend, two of them in particular, Andretti and DS Penske, because it's home races for both those teams. Andretti, quite obviously, a huge name in American motorsporting history. But you might not have also realised that it is DS Penske's home race through the Penske connection, which has also got a big legacy over here.
Absolutely. Those two names there, Andretti, Penske, they are icons of motorsport in America. And we have them here in the grid in Formula E, where they need to do well. It's not even just wanting to do well. This is a big, big weekend for them.
Crunch time, baby.
Because, in the team's championship, it's 4th and 5th for Penske and Andretti. In the drivers' championship, it's 5th and 6th for Dennis and Verne. Lots of points up for grabs and a real opportunity to just boost themselves ahead. I don't know how far ahead they can go, but yeah, big opportunity.
Well, mathematically, let's get into that, because I think if you're currently in 1st to 9th, you are still technically in contention for the championship. Jake Dennis sitting in 5th is probably right on the cusp of that. Is his season over already, or can it be done here? Can he bring himself back into that fight?
It's a big question, because you're right, mathematically it is still possible. Really, it's the top 4 that sit within that kind of 35-point bracket. But there is an opportunity, with the help of some good luck and the help of some bad luck for others, for someone like Dennis to be able to creep into that top 3. Is the championship still on the cards? I think a lot would have to go in his favour, and I just think with some of the consistency we've seen from the likes of people like Cassidy, it's a big ask.
However, this is Formula E, and you never really know
what's
going to happen. So how about we take a look back at the season we've had so far, with a whole host of points on offer this weekend.
The season started in Mexico in front of a packed crowd, where a pole position and lights the flag victory by Pascal Wehrlein kicks things off. Envision driver Sebastian Buemi finished 2nd, and last season's championship runner-up Nick Cassidy 3rd. The Kiwi's first of many podiums to come as he launched his championship title fight. Domination in Diriyah all came down to attack mode strategy. Some got it right, others did not. Falling very much into the first category was Jake Dennis, crossing the line in 1st position and almost record-breaking 13 seconds ahead of Verne in 2nd. Nick Cassidy was there to pick up the pieces for Jaguar TCS Racing after a late move gone wrong from Mitch Evans almost cost them a podium. Oliver Rowland flew to pole position in round 3, but matching that performance in the race with the all-important energy efficiency of the 2 Jaguar-powered cars behind was a step too far for the Nissan. Rowland eventually finishing on the podium in 3rd. Robin Freins in 2nd, but completing the hat-trick of podiums with the win was captain consistency Nick Cassidy. In Brazil, last lap drama brought changes to the podium when Sam Bird overtook his former teammate Mitch Evans to get Neil McLaren's first win in Formula E. Evans finished 2nd, and Oliver Rowland completed the podium, climbing his way up from 11th and slipping past a tussling Dennis and Wehrlein to claim back-to-back podiums. Another new winner of the season on the top step in Tokyo, as Maserati MSG driver Maximilian Günther drove a calculated race to take the lead and score his 2nd win for the Maserati team. Rowland brought even more silverware to the team, finishing 2nd, and reigning champion Jake Dennis took the final podium spot. The first of 2 action-packed races in Mazzano saw Antonio Felix da Costa fly up the order from P13 to cross the line in 1st place, only to be later disqualified by the FIA. Moving up a position after that disqualification meant Oliver Rowland inherited his first win of the season, and Jake Dennis locked in back-to-back podiums, having climbed his way up from 18th on the grid, with Max Günther finishing 3rd. The second of the Misano races ended up in catastrophe for the man of the hour, Oliver Rowland, as a technical error left him out of usable energy on the final lap. Pascal Wehrlein capitalised and claimed his second win of the season, and Jake Dennis repeated his second place finish from the day before with another impressive grid climb. Nick Cassidy returned to the podium for the first time since Styria to remind us of how he started this season and his title intentions. The 7th Monaco E-Prix started with Pascal Wehrlein locking in his third pole of the season, but again Wehrlein wasn't able to convert, whilst a masterfully managed team strategy made it a 1-2 for the Jaguar TCS Racing team, with Mitch Evans getting his first win of the season. Taking the final spot on the podium though, his first since his championship win a few seasons back, was DS Penske driver Stoffel Vandoorne. Berlin, as always, did not disappoint, with energy management strategy being the order of the weekend. Eduardo Mortara brought Mahindra their first points of the season and a pole position, but Nick Cassidy made it 3 podiums in a row, winning from almost back of the pack during the race. Verne finished second and Oliver Rowland battled his way to third from 15th on the grid. In round 10, Antonio Felix da Costa won from 10th, another podium for the seemingly untouchable Nick Cassidy finishing second, and Oliver Rowland got his 6th podium of the season despite starting the race in 16th. In the first of 2 races in Shanghai, a battle between the 2 Jaguars and Pascal Wehrlein ended in a 1-3 finish for the Jaguar team, with Wehrlein coming in second. A 5th consecutive double-digit points haul for Pascal, a firm reminder that championship fights are not all about podiums and race wins. In round 12, da Costa made it 2 wins from 3 races. Jake Hughes earned his first podium in Formula E after starting from pole position, whilst Andretti driver Norman Nasso scored his highest finish and first podium for the team, coming home in 3rd. Season 10 is continually proving itself to be the most competitive in the championship's history. Strategy is key, the racing is more ferocious than ever, and the battles for the titles are very much still alive.
Thank you for talking us through all that, Saunders, because it has been one hell of a rollercoaster this year.
Yeah.
And we do have to talk about a team that's had a lot of success this season, and Jaguar, probably one of their best yet, arguably.
I mean, they're looking very good. You know, they're top of both the standings as it stands. Yes, there's a lot of points up for grabs, and it's pretty tight in both championships. But they do have a chance to do what they've been trying to do since they joined the championship and win that first title, even as early as this weekend, Alexa.
But I don't think it's going to be that easy. We've seen a little bit of, I don't want to call it drama, between Mitch Evans and Nick Cassidy, the 2 Jag drivers. But there's definitely not been smooth sailing there. Mitch is currently sitting 3rd in the championship, and he's not going to let Nick win this very, very easily.
Yeah, I wonder if the team have been having a bit of a conversation about, look, we're on the edge of getting this team's championship. We're in a much better position to win that sooner than the drivers. Let's all pull together, get that done, then you guys can battle it out for the drivers.
But the mentality of a driver on a track like this, where yes, we do have that big, wide open space, but there's a lot of potential to make mistakes here.
Yeah.
One dodgy move and they're costing themselves a lot of points. However, Mitch is still going to want to send it. He's going to want to win these races to try and put himself in the best position.
True, it's all going to be about where they get to in the race, like who has that better strategy. You know, if we look to the most recent similar circuit, like what we've had here, it would be Shanghai. And the Jaguars were the only team that did it together. And they managed to kind of work their way up the order together. Yes, it kind of was a little bit controversial where Nick Cassidy really thought that he could have won if he was allowed to move ahead earlier. I think they're trying to avoid something like that. But there's no reason to say why they can't get in that position again in both races here. It's just going to be about where they qualify. Are they qualifying near each other, or are they at complete other ends of the grid? But it is all up for, it is very possible for them to do it here as a team. I agree with you on the driver's front.
It's going to be interesting.
I think it will go longer than this weekend. But on the team's front, they could wrap it up.
Well, we can have our opinions about this all day long. Our very own Katie Fairman went to speak to team principal James Barclay to see what he had to say about this upcoming race.
Well, I am joined by James Barclay, and James, this is a big weekend for you, lots of potential pressure on the team, but before we get into that, let's just overview your season so far, because although we've got 4 races left to go, you've actually got more points now than you did at the end of last season. So yeah, can you talk me through how the season's gone for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible, isn't it, to think that we've got more points we did last year. We we just lost out to the championship, and just shows you how competitive this year is. You know, even with an incredible haul of points like we've got, it just shows you how strong the year has been. But as you say, you know, building up to this point, it has been a really positive year. We knew coming off last season that we had a really strong package in the Jaguar Type 6. It has been a year where it's felt from the go we've been in a position to fight for podiums and score points. You know, even races that were having our tougher races like Tokyo, we still managed to scrape a few points. And one thing is certain in Formula E, consistency is what wins you championships and puts you in a position to fight for championships. So yeah, that's been the goal this year, and there's been some incredible highlights, some amazing moments. You know, that Monaco 1-2 is something which I'll never forget.
Yeah, and earlier this season you hit a really important milestone, 100 races in Formula E. Do you think that the consistency of people like Mitch and yourself going to all of those events is part of why Jaguar is in the position it is now?
Yeah, far from it really. Consistency is a really key thing, and if you're constantly changing everything, that you never build up that groundswell of knowledge, of know-how. And in the team we have a lot of really stable people. You know, you see Mitch still with the same race engineer from the start in Joseph Rocker, just an example of a really strong partnership that's been there from the outset. And you look across the team, and that wealth of experience now in the team puts us in a really strong place, and not just the wealth of experience, but how the team works together is a well-oiled machine really. And so yeah, it's been amazing. Yeah, 100 races in Tokyo was an incredible milestone. It feels like only yesterday we were bringing Jaguar back into the sport, and the fact is we can now stand shoulder to shoulder with some of the best racing teams, the best manufacturers in the world, the best drivers, and show that we've been a consistent championship contender for the last few years.
And we talk about consistency, but you have had quite a change coming into this year with the signing of Nick Cassidy. And we know that he is an amazing talent in Formula E, but he's really hit the ground running within the team, and obviously leading the championship could mathematically seal it this weekend. Yeah,
Nick's been an awesome addition to the team. And Kelly, one of the things we realised is that to be successful in Formula E, you have to have two drivers that can fight for race wins. You know, we've been incredibly close in the past. Arguably, maybe we hadn't been in a position to fight for a championship before, but you need both sides of the garage to be able to score points on all occasions. And we knew with Nick coming on board, that's exactly what he'd bring. And to see it come to fruition and get his first win very early on in that journey in Saudi Arabia was awesome. And he's been a fantastic addition. He's driving the team, motivating the team in terms of technical developments, and the partnership with him and Mitch is one I'm really proud that we have in the team. And Nick's hunger to join us was really motivating when he kind of really expressed the desire to join us, because we knew, and I knew, that the potential of that combination was incredibly strong. So it's been a great start, and I always look to the future, and I think for us what's in the future is also really exciting.
Brilliant. Well, best of luck this weekend for you and your drivers. And thank you very much, James.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that, Katie, and welcome along. James seemed in really good spirits there.
He did. Obviously, it's quite an important weekend for the team, as we mentioned. There's a chance they could wrap up the team's championship and Cassidy could take the driver's crown. So a lot of pressure on this weekend. But I know these guys, they've had over 100 race starts in Formula E. When it comes to being cool and composed, they've got it in the bag, so they should be fine.
I wonder if you are James Barclay, how you approach it.
You're saying I am James
You
Barclay?
are. Congratulations.
I've shrunk.
I do wonder, like, what I would do in this situation as a team principal. Do you go, let's get it done, let's just put all focus on winning the championship as the team this weekend, and then try and do as much as we can in the drivers? Or do we go, guys, it's been working up to here, just keep going in the way that we've been going? You can see both sides of the argument, can't you?
I think there's actually a lot to be said for the role of a team principal heading into this point of the season. That this is where they start earning their money. It's like we're in the middle of the Euros, we've got to talk about it. It's like a manager in the middle of a football team. You've got to make sure that you are controlling every single part correctly and doing what you can, which is best for the team. And speaking of best for the team, we spoke about it a minute ago, Jag leading the team's championship, and a lot of focus going to be on that. Nick Cassidy is in the driving seat of this drivers' championship. Heading into this weekend, what are kind of going to be the main pointers for him?
Well, I mean, he's got 2 wins, 8 podiums so far this season. He's done really well with the consistency side of things, which we know is what gets you championships here in Formula E. He won here last year, of course. He is a master at these kind of strategy races. So I think there's a good chance that he, might even win both back-to-back, which is something we don't often see in Formula E. But, he's got the confidence of the Drivers' Championship lead behind him and a track that he's ace at. So let's see.
I mean, circuits like this have just been his complete wheelhouse, haven't they, this season? Like every time we've come to these really energy sensitive, proper pack racing circuits, Nick Cassidy has just delivered. Like, let's look at Berlin, winning the race from pretty much the back of the order during the race. And other cases, you know, making big moves in Shanghai. He just knows this strategy side. And just to look back at your reference of a manager, a manager and a team are only as good as their backroom staff, and the strategists and the analysts in each team this weekend will be earning their money too.
Yes, true.
Well, we say consistency is key in Formula E, none more so when you're heading into these final 4 races of the season. Who else have we got currently in contention that's going to be looking to cause a little bit of an upset?
I mean, we can look at, if we just look at the top 4, because I mean, even though yes, it's mathematically possible, greater than that, that's kind of where we're looking, isn't it? We've got the 2 Jaguars in the top 3. That's the best showing that any team has in the championship currently. Best chance of helping that in the teams. But when the drivers, you've got Cassidy, Evans, Pascal Wehrlein, who hasn't been on the podium that much, but yet he's still there.
Still finds a way.
Peak Pascal behaviour,
It is,
honestly.
it
He's
really
just been
is.
scoring so many points. And then we've got to talk about Oliver Rowland as well, because he's had such a good season. And now, you know, he's in that top 4 within that 35-point window. And again, just like Cassidy, he seems to like this sort of racing.
Yeah, and it's so close as well between Rowland and Evans, just 1 point between the 2 of them. And actually, talking of Evans, I do kind of want to give him a bit of a shout out, because at the start of the season, things didn't go his way. Nick Cassidy, new to the team, you know, ruffling feathers, proving that he's kind of the big dog in the team. And for Mitch, he's made those positions back with pole positions, with podiums. So he has, you know, done a really good job to bring himself back up into championship contention.
Yeah, phenomenal second half of the season as well. And there's still 4 races to go, so who knows what can happen.
And one other thing I do want to bring up, because actually it's been a little while since we've spoken about the driver market. With 4 races left, there are a lot of drivers up and down this grid that are going to be wanting to put on a show, really start impressing to secure themselves a good drive next season. Last time we did speak about it, we were telling you, Antonio Felix da Costa has had a really tough start to the year. Will he retain that Porsche seat? He's now one of the most successful drivers of this season with 2-3 wins, depending on your mentality. But who else is going to be now looking to try and secure themselves that seat?
I mean, it's really, we are at a very spicy point, and the ball actually has been moved into the courts of the drivers in a couple of different scenarios. You know, Antonio Felix da Costa, very much now, he is in the power seat.
Yeah.
Jake Hughes, very much in the power seat. You know, there's openings potentially popping up. We might see Envision, Nissan, like Maserati. There's all these potential, DS Penske. So this weekend and the rest of this season is not just about the drivers and team championship. People are racing for their futures.
And Katie, could that make things a little bit more volatile for those drivers, like you say, at Nissan and Maserati, who haven't maybe had a really strong result to cling on to this year?
Yeah, I mean, you could look at it in a way, if you've got 4 races left to show what you can do, and maybe they think 4 races, that might seem like a lot of time to some people looking at the calendar, but actually they're both back-to-back race weekends, and it's going to be a really intense couple of days for them to kind of give it full attack and show what they can do.
They know what they're in for.
Yeah.
You know, the driver market is savage, and they understand, you know, what's at stake. It's all about performance. If they don't put the numbers in, they don't get the results, they can't expect to keep that seat.
Well, how about we take a look at the track the driver's going to be tackling this weekend with our commentator, Tom Brooks.
Rounds 13 and 14 of the 2024 ABB FIA Formula E World Championship is held in Portland, the most populous city in the state of Oregon. The International Raceway is the venue for this weekend. Let's take a look, shall we, at the 12-corner circuit. Down the start-finish straight we go, into turn 1, the heaviest braking zone on the track, quite tight and twisty through the first few corners, then it really opens up into a series of medium-speed sweepers. Not a lot of opportunity here for energy saving, so expect to see drivers jostling for position. Attack mode at turn 7, then it opens up once again. Out of turn 9, a long back straight where Nico Muller ended up in the wall last year, and again, medium-speed corners, turns 10, 11 and 12 as we come right up against the wall to the timing line. And that's a lap of Portland for the penultimate weekend of season 10.
It is certainly going to be a unique style of racing for our drivers this weekend. And like Tom said, some really key elements of this track that make it a little bit different to everywhere else we race.
I mean, yeah, let's just talk about speed. You know, there's some really long straights on here, some very fast flowing corners, especially more so this weekend, you know, without that extra chicane. So we're going to see some very high speeds. I'm going to even say record-breaking qualifying again. Ooh. I think surely you can only go faster from last season. They know more about the cars, they've learned more about track and the grip and traction. So I think, yeah, in quali at least, record-breaking speeds coming our way.
Yeah, very much so. Also, this track is super wide and it's quite unique compared to the street circuits that we've been in. I mean, like, completely different to, say, somewhere like Tokyo, where you had walls just millimetres from where the guys were. There's so much grass here. We have seen people like Nico Müller last year had a really high-speed incident here because he went onto the grass, into the barriers. But that can also be a help for some people. If you go wide, then you haven't got a wall there. You can make up those positions back off the grass. So, yeah, let's see how we get on.
Well, let's talk strategy. How is this all going to play out, do we currently think?
Oh, it's so hard to say how it's going to actually end up in terms of results, but all we do know is that last season we had over 400 overtakes, and that's because of what you just mentioned there, Katie. You know, they've got so much width. I'm looking now at this start-finish straight. I can see at least 6 cars wide. At least 6 cars.
They're hearing you and they're going, challenge accepted.
So when you get to those points, especially when nobody really wants to lead, but people want to keep out of trouble, they're just going to use the full breadth and the full width of that circuit. So then what happens when you get into a tighter corner? You can't all go 6 wide into the corner. So we could see a bit of upset, but when the strategy comes into play, it's going to be about who has nailed those energy targets and has that point when it switches from efficient racing into flat out racing, who's in the best position.
Yeah, it's going to be great. I can't wait.
Well, I do think one thing I want to bring up is I remember having a conversation with someone from ERT back in Misano where we had this similar type of pack racing. They are now trying to find other ways to combat the fact that they aren't the most competitive team on the grid. I'm wondering if maybe this weekend we could see not necessarily an upset, but perhaps someone from slightly lower down on the grid doing something a little bit different now that we are very familiar with this style of racing.
Yeah, I think that's a great shout. Like you see, ERT had some of their best results in Misano. Dan Tickton 4th, his best result ever in Formula E. So I think that's a great shout.
I think, you know, a good shout, I agree, because if you think about the compound effect of being in the slipstream, every car you go further down the order is more energy you're saving. So if you are the likes of an ERT or an App Cooper or a Mahindra and have a slightly less efficient powertrain, you can completely negate that lack of efficiency by how much you're saving in the slipstream. That being said, it's risk versus reward, because yeah, you might be able to save the energy and have enough to then fire away up the order towards the end, but you've got to get through the order. You've got to get through the carnage. The benefit being much wider here, so risk potentially not as risky with hitting walls and things, but you've still got to do the work.
I've got a little bit of a rogue thought.
Go on.
Are there any teams on the grid that we could expect to perhaps be going just with qualifying in mind here? And I say this because some of them have had a really rough season and they could be at the point where they're looking for that headline of the year, but you know what, we got pole position in Portland. Some teams, obviously, who do struggle with race pace a bit more, could we expect maybe a setup orientated towards qualifying, or is that me going a bit too left field?
I think they're obviously set up for qualifying in the race in the way that they always do, but what I think you've touched upon, which is really, really key, especially for these last 2 weekends, is that where we know this sort of racing, qualifying isn't as essential. You know, you can be a Nick Cassidy and win from P21, but I think where it is important is in the mindset, because one, at your point, you are racing for your future. So having a pole position is a big tick against your name, but also just being in the mindset of I am fast at this crunch time of the season goes a long way, not to mention the 3 points.
Well, how about we hear what our drivers had to say heading into this crucial weekend?
Yeah, it's great to be racing in America. I think it's obviously a huge market that you know, Formula E wants to explore.
Yeah, super excited to go back to America. You know, it's obviously a big event for us as an Andretti, you know, local race. Racing in the States is always a big event. Motorsport's getting bigger and bigger in there as well. So yeah, to go back there, we also had a great race there last year, finishing second, starting on pole position. So excited to go back, good memories, and hopefully we can have a good one.
I'm excited to go racing again in the States. I think it's always fun to be racing in America. The Portland track, yeah, it's obviously offered good entertainment last year. And then this year it's kind of comparable to quite a few tracks, China, Misano.
Portland, a little bit of a different one, as it's a permanent circuit that is also used by IndyCar. But we saw last year it provided some really interesting racing. Yeah, a lot of overtaking, 5 cars side by side going into turn 1.
Well, in Poland it was basically the first track we've been to with long straights, and we noticed that with kind of like the slipstream kind of racing we had, we can save a lot of energy if we're behind other cars. And people learn a lot from that race specifically.
Yeah, being Portland, it's obviously not really a street circuit race, so there's quite a few different challenges what we suffer with over there. It's obviously a track with the highest top speed of the year, so braking is always a challenge into turn 1, and then just the flowing nature of the circuit. It's not something what these cars are particularly designed for. So we have to come up with different ideas with the setup and different ideas with the software to try and compensate for that. But it's always a circuit which I enjoy. You know, it's nice to do one lap qualifying with the high top speed and the natures of the corners.
We always like to be in city centres, and we've had that a little bit in New York. Portland is a little bit different and brings a different kind of crowd. I would say probably more the real motorsport fans that go and watch the race.
Obviously, the IndyCar and NASCAR has been very popular there. Formula E, it's still growing. It's good to see that there were quite some fans there in Portland. Hopefully, we attract some more people than last year, and we see this growing line going forward.
Yeah, the American fans, you know, they're so old school. They love the just the pure racing side of motorsport, and to see them come in their motorhomes, their camper vans, it's very unique, but something which the American fans always bring good energy and good support.
Always great to hear our drivers speak so positively about a track that we know and love like Portland. And now, forget drivers' crunch time, it is our crunch time, because it's one of the final predictions of the season. I'm going to jump straight in there. Okay. I want this championship to go down to the final weekend of the season. It's always more fun when that happens. You know I jinx whoever I predict. I think it's going to be a Nick Cassidy win this weekend.
He's done it. It's been said.
It's been said. If he doesn't win, Jaguar, I'm sorry, but I want to see a drama in London.
Okay.
You guys, what are you thinking?
Lady.
Okay, I'm going to go for an Ollie Rowland win at some point. We talked about Misano earlier. He was super quick there. I mean, inherited the win after Costa's disqualification, and then would have won had they not had this battery blip where he ran out of energy on the last lap. Yeah. And I'm also going to chuck in a cheeky Edo Mortara pole.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. You've gone for a pole position prediction.
I have, yeah.
Okay.
Just changing it up.
I'm going to do the Saunders Classic and mention loads of drivers.
Yeah,
okay, let's talk about the home teams. DS Penske, Andretti. DS Penske, it's probably worth just mentioning quickly that even though they aren't in the headlines from what happened last season, they did start with starting from the pit lane and climbed up quite a few places. So they definitely had the pace here last season. But if you were talking about the home team, I do think it's going to lean towards Andretti. I think Jake Dennis could do well here. I think he's going to get a good mindset. It's a really kind of last chance saloon for a top 3 finish, maybe better. So we could see good from him. I'm excited to see what Jake Hughes can do. How can he follow up that podium, his first podium in Shanghai? But then the last person I'm going to name, Antonio Felix da Costa. Big climb last season onto the podium, and the guy's won 2 of the last 3 races.
He really is on a roll.
Yeah, and the Porsche powertrain loves circuits like this.
And I think we all do too, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be a good fun weekend. Thank you, Katie. Thank you, Saunders. And thank you for joining us. Make sure you're following along with all of the action across the Formula E social media and on our broadcast. Because do not forget, Season 10, it is on.